Before we begin the message, let's open up with a word of prayer.
我们开始前先来低头祷告。
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord,
感谢上天主，
Lord, I just want to thank you once again.
也再次感谢你，
As always, you are a good Father to us.
你是我们很好的天父，
You have provided us with many things, with good family and friends.
你供应我们所需的一切，给我们家庭，给我们朋友。
I thank you, Lord, for continuing to keep this church together.
也感谢你继续把这个教会聚在一起，
For continuing to give us strength.
再次给我们力量。
And I pray, Lord, that we will continue to be strengthened by you.
求你继续给我们力量。
As we read your word today, I pray, Lord, that you would be the one to speak to our hearts.
我们今天接下来的时间，我希望你直接跟我们说话，
Reveal your personal will to our lives,
也把你的旨意显现给我们，
that we may just be obedient to your word.
就是我们可以去真跟随你的话语。
I pray all this in the name of Jesus
我们
Christ.
祷告奉主耶稣的名求，
The book of 2 Corinthians opens up with a message of hope in the midst of trouble.
但哥林多后书一开始是给我们一个盼望的讯息。
Paul is constantly bringing praise to God.
然后保罗经常去赞颂神，
Yet the circumstances that they have commonly found themselves in could not have been pleasant.
但是当我们看到他们所遇到的遭遇，是不可能给他们什么可以称颂神的机会。
Now, he doesn't focus heavily on their great troubles and
而
tribulations.
他们没有特别去提到他们所遇到的患难、灾难，
He doesn't go into incredible detail on such things,
他并没有很仔细的讲他们遭遇的事情，
because that's not the purpose of the letter.
因为他这个不是他写信的原因。
But it feels like he is reminding them of the struggles he has been facing up until this point.
但是他要提醒这些教会他所遇到的难处在哪里。
From a glance at the first two chapters, we can only think that Paul may have been going through some difficult
如
situations.
果你去看哥林多后书前面两章的话，你会看到他所遇到一些困难。
He must have been hit hard with spiritual warfare.
他一定是在属灵上受到很大的征战。
We get a glimpse of his struggles in the book of Acts.
我们在使徒行传可以看到他所遇到的困难。
From Acts, we learn that Paul traveled far to bring the good news of
在
Jesus
使徒
Christ to the
行
world.
传，他讲到保罗为了神的福音去到很远不同的地方。
And in doing so, he's met with much opposition.
那他遇到在这个旅途上面，他遇到很多的困难。
He was despised and persecuted.
他被人家质疑，他被人家迫害，
Some people even wanted to kill him.
还有人想要杀死他。
His life was never easy.
那所以是从来不是一个很容易的路。
And so he begins at the start of the book with one of the most encouraging passages of Scripture.
所以他在这一本书里面所讲的是非常鼓励性的。
He praises God as the God of all comfort, who
他说
comforts us in our
他说
troubles.
神是各样安慰的神，
He is grateful to God for the comfort.
他感谢神所给他的一切。
And while it is very encouraging to hear such things, we cannot ignore why this is important.
当然是听到这个话语，我们觉得非常的有鼓励性，但是我们没有去忽略后面他所说的话。
It's important because of all the trouble and distress they have been
他
facing.
很重要讲说，因为他后面所遇到的困难，
Paul wishes to comfort the Corinthian church,
我们很需要这样子的安慰。
but it's not done out of an easy life full of peace and prosperity.
当然，他说这种安慰并不是因为他的意志过得很安逸，
He wishes to comfort them in their troubles while he's in the midst of his own troubles.
他希望去安慰教会的人，因为他自己本身就经过很多灾难，
This is why he says, "Praise be to God,"
所以他说荣耀归于神，
because he's not overwhelmed by his troubles.
因为他不是因为这个灾难所要去压垮他，
He's not overcome by distress,
他并不是因为这些苦难害得他很累，
but rather he is comforted by God.
但是他是受到神的安慰。
Christ Jesus is always his source of hope.
我们去永远就去仰望神，
And then he continues to speak on various matters.
而且接下来他后面就讲到各样不同的事。
Paul does speak mostly in a positive tone throughout.
在这个书里面讲的保罗的非常正面的，
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the best of news.
但他听起来不像是最好的消息，
Things are not perfect.
因为事情永远不会是很完美的。
Paul mentions that he faced such great trouble in his mission work that he thought he was going to die.
然后保罗有跟他说，他在这个福音工作上面遇到很大的困难，他一度以为自己可能会死掉。
but God saved him.
但是主救了他。
Then Paul mentions that he really wants to visit the church in Corinth.
而且保罗也跟他说，他非常希望去那个哥林多的教会，
But he can't do so,
但是他没办法去。
even though he really, really wants to
就
visit.
算他非常想要去，但是他没有办法。
And as he continues his journey, some things are amiss.
当他继续他的旅行，后面有一些事情发生。
He does not quite have peace of mind because some things are not going the way he wanted to.
因为他没办法好好的安心，因为他很多事情没有办法跟着他想要的去发生。
But he thanks God again
但是他再次的感谢神，
for all that God has continued to do in spite of all these issues and
他
setbacks.
就算神给他所有的灾难，他依然的去感谢神。
It's a struggle. It's always a struggle.
他是经常的遇到困难，很大的挣扎。
And even though he was called by God and God leads him to wherever he needs to go, there's always trouble along the way.
虽然神有呼叫他，希望他去神所要去的地方，但是他还是遇到很多的困难。
Something is always out of place.
因为有一些事情永远说是有些事情是不对劲的。
And before we continue further, I'm going to get into the Word, and we're going to continue our discussion by reading chapter 4, verses 7 to 12.
我们在接下来之前，我们先来读我们今天的经文，是在哥林多后书第4章7到12节。
And it reads, "But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. We always carry around in our body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our body. For we who are alive are always being given over to death for Jesus' sake, so that his life may also be revealed in our mortal body. So then death is at work in us, but life is at work in you."
第7节，我们有这宝贝放在瓦器里，要显明这莫大的能力是出于神，不是出于我们。我们四面受敌，却不被困住；心里作难，却不致失望；遭逼迫，却不必丢弃；打倒了，却不致死亡。身上常带着耶稣的死，使耶稣的生也显明在我们身上。因为我们只活着的人，是常为耶稣必交于死地，使耶稣的生在怎样逼死的身上显明出来。怎样看来，死是在我们身上发动，生却在你们身上发动。
Verse 7 in particular has a phrase that should catch our attention.
那在第7节有一个词语照到我们的眼睛。
We have this treasure in jars of clay.
他该开始说，我们这宝贝放在瓦器里。
Paul is presenting us with yet another image of the gospel,
然后保罗把一个神的话语用一个很明显的形象告诉我们。
another way for us to think about it.
那用我们可以从另外一个角度来思想。
The good news of Jesus Christ is a treasure.
耶稣的好消息是一个宝贝，
It is the light in their hearts,
它是我们心中的光，
a light to reveal to all people the way to God.
它是要显明神的光。
And this picture that he gives to us helps us see this point by calling it a treasure in jars of clay.
然后他要显明这个形象，他说耶稣就像是一个宝贝装在瓦器里，
Basically, we are jars of clay.
就我们就是这个瓦器。
The prophets Isaiah and Jeremiah would sometimes prophesy in this way.
在以赛亚先知跟耶利米先知曾经也这样子说过，
They would speak of God as the potter,
他说神就是陶匠，
and they would speak of God's people as mere
就
clay.
说神的子民就是粘土。
Now, clay by itself isn't all that special.
那粘土你去想象的话，它其实没什么特别的。
In its natural form, it often does not have much use to
那
us.
当它在自然的形态之下，它好像没什么用途。
I can't even remember the last time I've ever touched clay or seen clay.
我没办法记得我上一次碰到或是看到粘土是什么时候。
But the other parts of the land are often much more useful to
但
us,
是那个土地的其他东西好像比较有用效，
like soil.
像泥土。
Soil is something we can't do without.
那泥土当然是非常重要的。
It's invaluable to us because we need good soil to raise healthy crops
因
and
为
healthy
泥土
plants.
看起来没什么，但是我们没有泥土就没办法去种植。
Even if you're not a farmer, maybe you plant a little something in the backyard.
就算你不是农夫，可能你在你的后院也种了一点东西。
You can't do it without soil.
那你没有泥土，你是做不了的。
Rocky ground is also nice in its own
那
way.
像那个石头地也是非常有用，
You can use it to make a decent road or pathway.
你可以用石头来铺一个非常好的路。
You can use it to make your yard look nicer.
你可以把它用来铺你的那个前后院，弄得非常的漂亮。
And sand can be great too.
然后沙也是非常有用的，
especially for kids.
特别对小孩子来说。
Every time we go to the beach for a vacation, I just see kids just excited to play in the sand.
那我每次去沙滩度假的时候，都看到小朋友在沙地上玩得非常的开心。
Even though there's nothing much we do with that sand, it's just special for them.
但是好像沙看起来没什么，但是小孩却玩得很开心。
They can spend all day just playing in the sand.
他们可以在一整天在沙里面玩。
But clay has a very different use for us.
但是粘土是有非常特别的用途。
It needs to be molded and formed into something
它
useful.
需要被塑造才做成不一样的东西。
Otherwise, we just won't really care for it.
那不然的话，它在那边你也不会去管它，
We won't see much reason for it.
因为我不会觉得它到底有什么用途。
And this is one of the ways that God describes us.
那这个就是神来形容我们的一个方法。
We are like clay.
我们就好像粘土。
And if we are willing to give ourselves up to God,
那如果我们愿意摆上自己的话，
then He can make something out of
那
us.
神可以去创造一些东西出来，
He can shape us according to His good will.
可以帮我们陶铸他需要的东西。
He can make us into what we need to be.
他们把我们塑造成他需要的样子。
In this passage, Paul describes their position as
在
jars
这
of
个
clay.
章节，保罗就告诉我们这个事情。
In a way, we can say that it's like he's calling us all to be jars of clay.
他就告诉我们每一个都需要变成一个瓦器。
Yet that's not how we often picture ourselves.
那当然，我们可能从来不会把自己想象成这个样子。
A jar of clay is not really a bad thing.
因为瓦器好像没什么不好。
However, in spite of the fact that a jar of clay can be useful and can look nice, it's not really an amazing thing.
那瓦器可以弄得非常漂亮，也可以非常有用，但是看起来就不怎么样。
It's certainly not going to be on anyone's Christmas list.
第一个不可能你会把它写在你的圣诞礼物的名单当中。
If you were to describe yourself using a symbol, some kind of inanimate object,
那如果我要你把自己用一个物件来形容自己的话，
I think most people would choose to be something a bit different.
那大部分人应该选的东西是比较不一样的。
Perhaps you'd consider yourself something more sturdy,
你通常想的东西可能是比较坚固的东西，
something more beautiful,
或是长得比较漂亮的东西，
or simply just something more useful.
或是比较有用的东西。
No one would normally picture themselves as something so simple and ordinary and boring
很
as a
少
jar
人
of
会有
clay.
人把自己形容成一个没什么特别、没什么特点、也没什么用途的东西。
And yet this is what we are to be like.
但是我们却是这样子。
Or rather, this is just simply what we are.
但是很简单的说，只是我们就是这样子。
A jar of clay is formed,
它当一个瓦器做出来之后，
is created with a purpose.
它做出来是有目的的。
Now, you may not think highly of it when you see one.
然后当你看到一个瓦器，可能你不觉得它会怎么样。
Like I said before, it's not really an exciting thing in general.
那我前面就说了，它看起来就不是怎么那个令人开心的东西。
If you see a jar of clay, you may not care for it.
如果你看到个瓦器放在那边，你可能对它没什么感觉。
It may not even seem like anything special to you.
那对你来说，可能这个东西也没什么特别的。
But that is beside the point.
但是这个不是重点。
The reason you do not care for that jar is because you have nothing to do with it.
那你对这个瓦器没感觉，是因为你跟它没什么关联性。
You did not form it, nor was it intended for you.
因为你不是你所做出来的，而且也不是为你所做的。
But what if it was?
但是如果这个是为你而做的呢？
When a little child works on a piece of art, the meaning behind it can be deeper than we see.
当一个小朋友在作画或者在做美术的话，他可能背后的含义是比较深的。
They may have spent a long time working on it.
那花了非常多的时间去做，
They may have put much effort and care
而
into it.
且花了非常多的力气去弄。
And yet the reason they work on it is often not for themselves.
然后大部分时间他为做这些事情的时候，不是为了自己，
It's for someone else.
而是为了别人而做的。
It's usually something they want to offer to their parents.
通常是这个东西是为了他的父母而做出来，
Their parents do so much for them.
然后因为他父母对他来讲是非常重要的，
They recognize that.
他们理解，
They know they can't really give much back.
那他也知道自己没什么可以给父母的，
And so they give something that they can do.
所以他们自己做一些他们能力可以做出来的东西。
But when you look at it,
但是当你去看的时候，
a work of art from a really young child,
然后当一个很小的小孩去做了一个作品出来，
you probably can't really appreciate it that much.
你可能没办法好好的去欣赏，
Maybe you can't even tell what it is.
因为你根本看不出来他在做了什么东西。
I look at the drawings of my niece, the youngest in my house,
像我看到我最小的侄女，
and I can't tell whether it's a picture of a zoo or a picture of a family.
她画的东西我没办法去理解，到底她画的是动物园的动物，还是画她的家人。
But it has value.
但是非常有价值，
It still has worth in her eyes and in the eyes of her parents.
对她跟她的父母来讲，它是非常有价值的东西。
They'll put it on the fridge for everyone to see.
它会贴在那个冰箱上面，所以每个人都可以看到。
And for most people, it's not going to matter much.
但是对其他人来说，那个是非常特别的一幅画，
It's like a jar of clay,
就像一个瓦器一样。
but it matters to them.
但是对他们来说，是有非常重要的价值。
And that's what really counts.
那这个才是重点，
God gives us purpose.
因为神给我们有目的，
God gives us worth.
他给我们价值。
And it's most apparent when the power of the gospel is at work within us.
那这个就是那个福音的力量。
This is why we are to be like these jars of clay.
所以我们要就像那个瓦器一样，
Not because of anything special about the jar itself,
并不是因为瓦器有什么特别，
but because it can hold the treasure inside.
也是因为它是可以装宝贝在里面。
Let's read verse 7 again.
我们再去看第7节，
But we have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us.
我们有这宝贝放在瓦器里，要显明这莫大的能力是出于神，不是出于我们。
A popular theme in Paul's letters is the power of the gospel.
通常保罗写信有一个非常大的背景，他写的都是讲福音的能力。
It's a power that should amaze,
他是这一个很伟大的能力，
but it's a power that comes not from us.
但是他这个能力并不是出于我们，
And that just sometimes goes away against our way of thinking,
但是这个就是好像颠覆了我们平常会想象的，
because we usually think that greatness comes from greatness.
因为我们想说伟大就是出自伟大的。
Just picture the Olympics, for example.
我们来想一下，像奥运会，
This year, the year 2020, is another year for the Olympic
那
Games.
今年2020年，我们今年也会有奥运会，
It's such an incredible competition
它
because
是一个
it
非
brings
常
together
厉
the
害
best of the
的那
best,
个比赛，因为很多的那个很厉害的选手都会出来比赛。
who have all trained extensively to compete in various events.
他们这些运动员花了非常多的时间去训练。
And for many of these events, the competition is just centered around remarkable individuals.
然后在这些比赛，通常就是围绕这些最厉害的选手而做出来的。
But it's not only about the individual.
但是当然，这不是只有为了这些
It's also
运
about
动
the
员，
country that they represent.
而且也是为了这些来比赛的国家。
But what leads them to victory?
然后，但是他什么才可以赢呢？
Is it the sheer talent and passion of that individual?
是不是只有那个人的热情还有他的努力呢？
Or is it because of where they came from?
或是说是因为他们从哪个国家而来？
The reasons for victory may be plenty,
然后可以赢的原因可能有很多，
but ultimately it's the individual that is the deciding factor.
但是最后就是凭着那个个人他自己的能力。
And yet when they go out into the opening ceremony, when they're in the middle of the competition, the country is at the forefront.
但是当他们出场的时候，或是在比赛的时候，他们的国家就很明显的就走，他们的国旗也放在他们的前面。
Both the individual and the country are honored by the victory.
然后那个国家跟这些选手都会去得到荣耀。
That is not how the gospel works for us.
但是福音并不是这样子的。
The treasure that we have is the gospel.
那我们的宝贝就是我们的福音。
But even though it's to be in our hearts, guiding our lives, its purpose is not to make us look better.
然后当然，在我们需要他的带领，需要他给我们的指导，但是他并不是为了我们，
It's to point the way to God.
他是为了要去显现神。
The greatness of the treasure inside should outshine the jar outside.
那这个伟大的福音，它为了是要去显现神，并不是显现我们的瓦器。
The more we look into this treasure and come to knowledge of God, the more we should feel humbled.
那当我们更深入的去这个经文、这个福音，我们就发现我们要去谦卑自己，
The power belongs to God alone.
因为这些能力是属于神的。
The glory belongs to God alone.
那这些所有的话语都是属于神的。
Have you ever wondered what it'd be like to meet God?
那你从来有想过遇到神的状况会是怎么样吗？
There are several instances in the Bible that we get to see people come into the presence of God.
然后在圣经里面有提到有好几个人曾经遇见神，
And it's usually very similar.
然后通常他们的状况都非常类似，
They fall to their knees,
他们就跪在地上，
they bow in reverence,
然后抱在地上，
they tremble in great fear.
他们一直在发抖，因为他们非常的害怕。
all out of instinct.
所有都是出自他们的天性。
The presence of the worthy God compels us to feel our unworthiness.
因为当神出现的时候，我们就感觉我们的渺小。
Because we pale in comparison to the greatness and holiness
因为
of
我
the
们是
Almighty
没
God.
办法跟我们的伟大的神去相比。
We cannot run away from our weakness,
我们没办法去逃避我们自己的软弱，
nor can we hide it.
而且我们也不可以把我们的软弱躲起来。
It's in plain sight.
那因为它是很明显的，就在我们面前。
Let's continue reading verses 16 to 18.
我们继续再下来看第16、17节。
Therefore we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal.
所以我们不上胆，外体虽然毁坏，内心却一天升起一天。我们这自战自轻的苦楚，是为我们成的极重无比永远的荣耀。原来我们不是顾念所见的，乃是顾念所不见的，因为所见的是暂时的，所不见的是永远的。
Lately there's been a new scare going around.
最近有一个非常恐怖的事情在我们周边。
The news about it is endless.
因为他那个新闻每天的都在讲。
People continue to talk about it everywhere in the world.
那每个人在全世界上，每个人都在讲这些事情。
I'm referring to the coronavirus.
当然我讲的就是这个武汉肺炎。
I'm sure we've all heard about it.
然后我确定每一个人都应该有听过了。
The world seems to be in a state of concern over it.
然后现在好像全世界对这个事情都非常的重视。
Countries, including our own, are putting restrictions on the borders to try to keep it
很
out.
多国家，包括我们在内，我们去把我们的关封起来。
And even people who come back from China, in general, have been advised to stay home just in case.
还有很多人他从中国回来也那个政府跟他说需要受到隔离。
While the world continues to cautiously watch over the situation, it just feels like we've been here before.
然后当那个世界都对这个事情非常紧张的时候，我们感觉上好像这个事情曾经有发生过。
Every once in a while, a new crisis appears.
因为它在每几年就有发生一些重大的事情。
We try to fight it.
然后我们尝试去战胜它。
We try to deal with it.
然后我们想去处理它。
And the last few times, we have managed to bring it under control.
然后像几次好像我们处理的还不错。
And just when it seems like peace has returned to the world, something new shows up and brings us through troubles all over again.
但是当每次好像我们得到平安平静的时候，一个新的事情又发生了。
We can't stop it.
那我没办法去停止它。
It's happened before.
以前有发生过。
It's happening now.
现在正在发生。
And it will happen again.
以后也会再发生。
Our lives are truly fragile.
因为我们生命很脆弱。
Every once in a while, we get that reminder from the world.
那有很多时候，我们身边就会提醒我们这个事情。
It just slaps us in the face with that wake-up call.
就好像一巴打到我们醒来一样。
We're fragile, just like jars of clay.
我们是非常脆弱，就像一个瓦器一样。
We are really no different.
我们根本跟瓦器没什么分别。
Every time I get a paper cut, I just think to myself, we are so frail.
然后每次当我不小心给纸割到，我就觉得我怎么人生都这么脆弱呢？
How did I get hurt by something so flimsy on
那为
accident?
什么我会被一个那么软的东西去伤害到呢？
And even the virus,
然后像那个病毒，
it's just such a tiny thing you can't even see.
那个病毒试到我们根本肉眼看不见的。
And yet it causes such panic on a global scale.
但是它在全球做了那么大的恐慌。
Paul felt this often throughout his mission.
然后保罗常都去形容这样子的旅行。
He felt the frailty and weakness of his life.
他知道自己的生命的脆弱。
He experienced such great pressure and trouble.
他承受了很大的压力。
Which is why he says, outwardly we are wasting away.
所以他有跟我们说，我们这外体虽然败坏。
But he also says, inwardly we are being renewed day by day.
但是他也跟我们说，内心却一天的升起一天。
Though he feels the threat of death, he also feels the strength of God.
他虽然感觉到很大的困苦，但是他也感觉到神。
Because he's not focused on his present troubles, but on the eternal glory that outweighs them all.
因为他所面对的并不是他外在所看到的苦难，而且以后永远的盼望。
What was most important to him through all the pain and his stress was the treasure that sustained him.
对他来讲，他所遇到的所有的困苦，以后他所带来的却是永恒的。
That relationship he had with God.
还是最重要的是他跟神之间的关系。
That was all he needed.
这个是他一切所需的，
That is all we need.
而且也是我们一切所需的。
We need to be renewed daily in God's strength.
我们需要每天去更新自己跟神的关系，
For with each new day comes new troubles.
因为当每天我们遇到神的烦恼的时候，
Let us continue to strive to fulfill God's purpose for our
我
lives
们要去跟随，一起去达成神给我们的旨意。
by letting the light of the gospel shine through our faith and our
我
deeds
们让福音的光去照亮。
in these times where the world seems ever dark.
当在我这个世界在那个黑暗之中的时候，
Let us end in a word of prayer.
我们一起来低头祷告。
Dear Heavenly Father,
感谢主，
you know our troubles.
你了解我们的苦难，
And you see the state that our world is in.
也看到整个世界的方向。
You know, Lord, that we are in this position because of our sin.
你也知道我们在这个处境是因为我们的罪。
Everyone's destiny as a living creature is to die.
因为我们的最终的目的，我们就会死，
But you offer life.
但是你却给我们生命。
I just pray, O Lord, that we would just be obedient to your word.
我们投个考虑，我们可以去好好的去遵守你的话语，
That we would be strengthened by your power
我们可以去得到你的力量，
to share the gospel to those who are hurting and in need.
我们可以出去去广传你的福音，去给那些从来没有听过的人。
May your love and hope comfort us
希望你的爱、你的希望可以去安慰我们，
so that we can in turn comfort others.
所以我们可以去反过来去安慰别人。
I pray all this in the name of Jesus
我们
Christ.
祷告奉耶稣的名求
Amen.
，Amen。